Good day, everyone. I am Crisander Julianes, and I will be discussing the third filter in the propaganda model of Edward Herman and Noam Chomsky, which is sourcing mass media news. But first of all, I want to say sorry because I am unable to open my camera because of my internet connection, and it makes my laptop so laggy. So yeah, let's start. So in this discussion, we will talk about how the mainstream media heavily rely on information from official sources or information from the government, corporations, experts, and other powerful institutions. And through this, we will get to know how these powerful institutions affect and shape what and how news is reported. So let's start it with why the media are drawn in these official sources in making news story. So the first one, mass media have symbiotic relationships with powerful sources of information. So the mass media have mutually beneficial relationships with powerful institutions such as government agencies and large corporations due to their practical and economic needs. For the media, it is hard and costly to place reporters everywhere that news might happen, and they need a steady flow of news to fulfill their daily news demand through broadcasts, newspapers, and online content. So, they place the resources where significant news may happen, like the White House, the Pentagon, and major corporations where they know they can get reliable and timely information. Mark Fisherman calls this as the principle of bureaucratic affinity. Only other bureaucracies can satisfy the input needs of a news bureaucracy because only large organized institutions like the government or major companies can regularly meet the demands of large news organizations, while the powerful institutions benefit by having the control and favor of information they release. Second, mass media claim to be objective dispensers of the news. So to avoid accusations of bias or lawsuits, the media rely heavily on official sources to appear objective because official sources are considered as accurate and trustworthy. So to report on official press releases, scheduled press conferences, and statements from large organized institutions is more efficient and cheaper than to hunt down independent sources because non-official sources may require more verification and it could lead to legal risk, making them more costly and complex for the media to use. So now, let's go with the main points of this filter. The first one is the government and military media influence. So just a short background. The third filter in this book has a lot of numbers and names of institutions, and it is complicated in a way to explain it one by one. So let me just use this part to explain the government and military influence. So this picture highlights the huge scale of the US military's public relations and information operations, particularly from the Pentagon and US Air Force. They dominate the news landscape with their massive output of media, which includes newspapers, radio and television stations, interviews, and press releases. So, by offering journalists a continuous official content that is easy to access, the military and government becomes their main source of information that they can use to fulfill their deadlines. While opposing organizations such as the American Friends Service Committee, AFSC, or the National Council of Churches, NCC, which has low budgets and employees, produce viewpoints that are much less evident because they only create a small portion of the press releases and media items than the government and military does. So the influence here is significant because this demonstrates that the military capacity to control narratives and promote its agenda through massive media output. And because the military and government can provide so much consistent official information, they can shape and control the narrative while it limits public exposure of alternative viewpoints. Number two is corporate influence. So in this part, it is so much alike with government and military influence because as stated, only the corporate sector has the resources to produce public information and propaganda as the same as the Pentagon and other government bodies. Given the example earlier, which is the AFSC and NCC, which is a non-profit organization, they are not on the same level and they can't duplicate the mobile oil company's purchase of newspaper space and other corporate investments to get its viewpoints across because AFSC and NCC have low budgets and employees. Mobile oil company and a corporate collective such as the US Chamber of Commerce has the capacity to promote their viewpoints on newspaper ads, magazines, radio shows, and television programs because they have the budget even if it costs millions to spend. With this financial strength, the corporate sector can shape the narrative on issues that impact their profit like taxations, regulations, and labor laws through advertising, educational campaigns, and media outreach. And opposing organizations like the AFSC and NCC cannot compete with the scale or consistency of corporate messaging. So, by heavily influencing media content through large amounts and financial power, corporations are able to ensure their viewpoints are widely disseminated and taken seriously in the news, which make us go into the third point, which is the subsidizing the mass media. To consolidate their preeminent positions as sources, government and business news promoters go to great pains to make things easy for news organizations. So they provide media organization materials and facilities that they can use, and they provide advanced copies of speeches and reports. They also schedule press conferences and etc. In this way, large bureaucracies of the power pool subsidize or financially support the mass media to save them the cost and effort of independently gathering information. Moreover, because big agencies are able to provide information on a large scale, they become the go-to routine sources of news that gives them special access to media coverage compared to those small organization or institution that struggle for access. This also creates a mutual dependency, because the media gains content while the powerful sources gain influence over what gets reported. In this setup, taxpayer money indirectly funds a system that often promotes the views of powerful government agencies and their interests, such as those of defense contractors, rather than presenting a balanced view. Next, and the last is the control over experts. So in this passage, it states that beyond just providing day-to-day news, these powerful groups or institutions are drawn into shaping the supply of experts, which influence the opinion and credibility of experts that the media relies for having analysis. These experts can potentially challenge official perspectives. However, by funding them by the powerful institutions for hiring them as consultants, for sponsoring the think tanks that employ them, powerful institutions are able to shape the experts' view that aligns with their interests. So, when these experts are co-opted, they are more likely to present opinions that reinforce the status quo, which benefits the powerful. In other words, the experts who get the most visibility are often those who are already aligned with government or corporate perspectives. So, To end this discussion, we can consider that the reliance of media in these powerful institutions affected and shaped how news is being created in a way that media becomes more likely to reinforce existing power structures rather than challenging them. They subtly shape they subtly shape public perceptions in ways that serve those in control. So this third filter suggests that um, news media is often filtered to support the goals of those with economic and political power and ensures that the perspective in media coverage remain favorable to elite interests. So that is the end of my presentation, which is the third filter of the sourcing mass media news. And yeah, that's all. Thank you.